Petr Yan, he is in definitely a very delicate situation. Can we agree on that? I've kind of gone back and forth on Yan. Really. Kind of some sleepless nights at times. And I've never met him. But I feel like I know him. I know his manager real well. Talked about him a lot. Feel like I've been pretty hard on Yan over the years. And Yan was very much like a Stone Cold Steve Austin type, right? You take one look at him and go, what am I going to do with a non-English speaking, Nether Eastern Bloc killer with a 25-1 record and no fan base? What do I possibly do with this guy? I don't know that he has any tattoos. I don't think he's got any weird piercings. He's got a straight line haircut. What do I do with this guy? But for you people that don't understand the reference, that's the same thing Eric Bischoff said to Steve Austin. Said, you're a bald guy with a goatee. What do I do with you? Right? Jon is very much was this cookie cutter guy. Not to mention he was like 25-1. I'm not making that number up. It was something stupid. The night he fought Faber, yeah, he was like 18 or 19-1 that night. So then Jan ends up in something. Jan decides, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Now, that was cool. When Jan broke bad because he looked so proper, he looks like a little hall monitor. You know, he just looks like this little... So when he starts breaking bad, he was backstage with Cody Garbrandt, and things got sideways. Just sharing for you guys. I remember this stuff. I remember this. Even if I haven't met him, I followed him real close. And I haven't been overly complimentary. And it's not because I don't think he's great. He hasn't settled in. Am I supposed to like him or am I not? That's on him, not on me. I feel as though he's done some stuff, such as the Cody Garbrandt, where you see that maybe he's going to go heel. And he's not afraid to do that on social media. This is new. He was afraid. He was afraid all the way to when he beat Jose Aldo out on Fight Island. But it was after that he started to come out. He started to come out of that shell. He started to be interesting. Started to not really care where the audience was as long as they existed. I liked it. I really appreciate it. Now, he came out and he said, I want to fight Sugar Sean with a win. If I beat Merab, I want to fight Sugar Sean. And there's something about that, guys, that wins me over every time. There's something about somebody who identifies for us what a tough thing to do is, but then decries that they should be given some level of here you go. And what he would like for his here you go is a fight against somebody who is not guaranteed to be main event and who is not the champion. Like, that just works for me because now I see a sincerity. Right? I'm not talking about the number 11 guy wins and then he calls out the number 6 guy instead of calling out the champ. I'm talking about a former champion who ranked number 1. Kicked everybody's butt. Some unbelievably gorgeous record. Straight up main event 5-rounder. And he is calling out somebody other than the champion. Like, for me, it just works. It just works when somebody does it. Rampage did this. Rampage is this huge star. Rampage has spent millions of dollars, and he's in main events. And who did he call? He just did this. Daryl Schonauer. Right? You think that Page is going to call for a rematch with Bader or a rematch with Fedor or something like... Calls out Daryl, but there's something about it where we all listen, where we all go, well, you must really want to fight him. That's not what we thought. And Petr Yan thinks that he beat Sugar Sean. He's not alone in that. A lot of you guys think that too. I knew he had a damn good argument to it, and that's the first time I saw the fight. I had to go back and watch that. You might come to a different opinion. It does. You will see it a little bit different if you go back and watch it twice. You want a real experience? Go back and watch it for your second time and turn the volume down. I just leave it at that. But you really might come to a little bit of a different opinion. Start to see, man, that was a close match. It was a really close match. But he thinks that he won. And Sugar Sean gets to move 10 spots for winning that fight. Jan's going, if he got to do that for what I should have won, so where the hell are my spots? And you're seeing the answer to that, right? I don't know if Petr Yan understands it. I don't know if he quite gets it, but he's a main event. Okay, the night he lost to Sean, he was not a main event. He was not. I believe he was but even if I'm wrong, and he was third one of the night, he was not the main event. He lost and comes back to a main event. But that's when you wonder, like, where's the moral victories? That's when you start to wonder, where's the justice? That's when you start to wonder, are they not paying attention to me? Are they overlooking me? Does nobody care that this just happened to me? That's your answer right there. You lost in a non-main event, and you are returning to a main event. That's the organization. That's the pundits. That's you guys who have spoken up and lifted him to that position. An attempt either to correct or an attempt to just pay homage to a previous performance. And Jan says that he wants to fight Sugar Sean. And what do you do if you lose to Merab in this situation? Right, when I tell you that Jan is in a really delicate situation, it's a tough one. It's a real tough one, guys. Surreal gone. Look where he's at. But it's a really tough one. We don't not want to see Surreal. We don't think he's any worse than, right? He's a great fighter. It's a great record. Great placement on the card. A lot of years left. What do you do with him? I mean, what do I do with him? I don't have anybody in this company except for champions and guys who are still proving that someday they could be champion. There's nothing else in this company. So when you find yourself in a situation where you can't fight for the belt, it is not going to happen. You are in a real no man's land, particularly when you're number 2, number 3 guy in the world. So I'm just sharing for you, there's a lot on this. And Merab came up, trusting that you guys saw this. If you didn't, Merab, picture a hotel, picture a lobby, picture 2 guys checking in or getting ready to fight each other, who likely have never met. They know who each other are, but they've gone back and forth in the media. They got contracts. They're focused on each other, right? So, but now they meet. And Merab went up to Jan and said something about, let's talk now. And let's talk now is a famous quote that Khabib Nurmagomedov delivered to Conor McGregor. And either Joe Rogan heard it and told the world, or there was an audio that the UFC let leak after the fact, where Khabib is on top, strike, and says to Conor, let's talk now. Because Conor had been talking so much, right? You understand? Just sharing for you where this came from and why it was relevant that Merab said, let's talk now. That's what he was attempting to reference. So you would believe that Merab was not being a gentleman in that moment. That Merab was going up and kind of having a Josh Barnett to little Emelianenko moment. You would think that. But you might not be right, because he did stay calm. He didn't touch him, Merab. He didn't threaten him, Merab. He didn't use profanity. He just said what I just said. He said, and Jan didn't know what he meant. Right? Jan didn't know what he meant. And Jan hits him with, Jan kind of like gives him the tap, like, dude, I'm leaving. But he gives him the tap and he says, like, got to promote the fight. Like, he just turned and walked away. Which I also interpret that Jan, because you know in that moment, right? It didn't really matter what was said. When you're the guy in that moment, you're reading other things. You're reading body language. When you're a fighter, there's a smell. You can smell when there's trouble. You can smell when somebody came up to do more than just talk to me. One of the great things that you could do in that moment is get out of there. That's what Jan did. Said, hey, you got to promote the fight. Touched him to keep him back just a little bit while he took a step this way. It was a very interesting moment. Merab versus Jan. It's a very peculiar match, guys. It's very, very peculiar. Merab is now the favorite at DraftKings. But 1 week ago, the first time I talked to you about it, he wasn't. Which means you guys are starting to change your mind.